We're live. We're live.
Whoa! Good morning.
How does this work again?
This works like this. I'm going to ask you a series of questions. You're going to answer them as honestly as you can. Simon, when are you getting rid of the beard?
Its demise is going to happen over the next 72 hours when I can be asked doing it.
Is it true that one of the principal reasons you have to remove it is because you're getting that old Velcro effect, you know?
That shows how boring my life is, my friend. I don't actually know what you're talking about.
Well, if you want to know how bad it can get, I had the most awkward of conversations with my dad just a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
We were talking about my mum is refusing to get a COVID swab test done because, quote unquote, she doesn't want anybody sticking anything down the back of her throat. And my dad said, "No surprise there, then."
Get her on the show. Get her on the show.
Graham Wilson, good morning. Morning, Simon is wharfing into Chris Watkins.
Watkins.
That'll happen. Have you got little short arms as well?
Hello. I actually, look at those. I've got Donald Trump. Although they look massive now. I have to put them in context. I've got Trump hands, as you know.
Yeah, but it makes it a little bigger.
Thank you. Thanks. Which is good for your mum.
Hey!
The magic's back.
Hey! My mum's been complaining, actually, that we've not been doing these podcasts. She said in her... She said yesterday, she said to me, "Have you fallen out with Simon?" Is that it? And I said, "Yeah, I have."
You have become quite bitter while I've been relaxed and jaunting around.
Your webinar thing that you did yesterday, the panel with the direct mail versus digital.
Yeah,
I have to say, one of the better looking panels you've had in a long time.
Thank you. Again, you know, it's all compared to me, so that's why I've gone down the beard route. No, they were good, and it was even commented on that it had the right balance of males and no tails, so that was impressive.
No, it was very good, and actually, it was a very informative thing, and I think both sides of that debate have great value. Andy Overman, good morning. We may as well get in with a bit of industry news. So I don't know if you saw, but Andy Overman announced his career change.
Was he becoming a local councillor?
He should become a local councillor.
He'd be great at that.
He puts the local into local. Whaley looks like Jeremy Beadle. No, of course, Andy Overman puts the local into local man gets caught snooping on underage kids. No.
This is why I've distanced myself from you, David.
I just can't be trusted. No, Andy Overman has reached, I think, the end of the line where he is, and he's going on to new beginnings, which is absolutely fantastic to see his development over the past few months and the way that he's coped with. And I think he's been interviewed. Was he interviewed by? I can't remember who I heard him talking to about it, but was it Sam Hunter from Home Search on their podcast about the, I suppose, the torment of being on furlough and being out of action. Kenny, yes, you can have the details for our legal team.
Yeah.
My lawyer's called Jeffrey Epstein. That's one bit.
Yeah. Mine's up yours at Kerfuffle.com, Andy. Don't bring the big guns.
Talking of which, I've been invited on the EA podcast for Sunday morning.
Oh, those dirty sluts!
That was the news I was going to give you. I'm going to share the link with everybody. I think we should all gate crash it.
Like those people with penises on Zoom calls during lockdown. Well, I mean, not men, because that would obviously be everyone with penises. No, did you not hear what's happening? People were randomly gate crashing. I don't know how they were getting to it.
Yeah, I heard about this.
Yeah, and they'd just be sit there playing with themselves, which, well, you know.
Which we all know you have to pay extra for on Kerfuffle.
It doesn't seem right if you're getting a free ride. Again, not back to your mum.
Right, talk to me about what you've been up to, because you've been very busy. I've never seen you work so hard.
I know, it's disturbing. I'll tell you what, I realised when I literally haven't had my dose of dose of anything, but dose of Property Industry Eye or EA Today or anything like that. And I missed the appointment of the On the Market new CEO, Mr. Jason Tev. And I know Jason, he's a good lad, and that's I hope he will join us and talk about obviously how he's going to change that business round. What else have we? Did you have any opinions on that, by the way, David, or on the market?
I thought it was an interesting appointment, to be honest. They could have gone for somebody sort of insipid and grey, but no, they're bringing out somebody who, let's face it, Foxtons are not known for being tame when it comes to their attack on the market. So I'm hoping that they're going to bring a bit more, I don't know, dynamic.
It's been a long time since his Foxtons days, though. To be honest, he's been LSL and obviously Ivygate. He's very smooth. He's very switched on, and I think I actually think his profile fits on the market really well. And I think his suit routes would have been a real mistake for them, wouldn't it? Because genuinely, could you have seen them doing anything other than just fading away?
My issue's always been, and I've said this on here before, but my issue's been that out of all the portals, and love or hate ReesMogg and Zoopla and anybody else, your twins on. ReesMogg, Zoopla will always be very divisive in terms of their tactics and the way that they sort of dominate that market and the way that they play with agents, particularly when ReesMogg put the wrong-footed themselves at the beginning of lockdown. Zoopla then jumped on that bandwagon by offering agents an amazing deal if they were actually to ditch ReesMogg. So it's very aggressive, very political.
Yeah.
On the market, just sat on their hands. Didn't do anything. Pretty much didn't really enter the debate. I couldn't see them delivering massive value to the agents. So I'm hoping
they went full Switzerland, didn't they? They really did at a time when they were, you needed to be invited to the. It was like that scene in Anchorman, isn't it? When all the news teams were in the car park. That was what needed to happen. Let's see who the winner is in that car park fight.
Well, they had the opportunity to do something really magnanimous and to do something fantastic, add value. There were tons and tons of people out there that would have given their time for free, as we saw. I mean, how many hours of webinars and stuff have we all sat through in terms of people giving value over to agents, and On the Market just completely missed it. ReesMogg got it eventually. They started running webinars, and they had that awful career low for David Cox before he left Arla, where they made him read out the updated legislation and guidance for agents when we went back to work as the news broke. As he was sat there going, "Yes, we were very involved with what's going on behind the scenes." Miles Shipside says, "1 second." They literally push a piece of paper under his nose, and he has to read it out line by line. No wonder he chucked it in.
Well, the joys of live streaming, and live things there.
Yeah. You have lost weight, haven't you? Genuinely.
The chin hiding element, Andy, to be honest, is a real benefit from it. But I'm also thinking now there's got to be at least half a pound of, so by definition, I'll lose a bit more weight. And I'm guessing that, I mean, I never grown one of these before. I'm guessing my skin's going to be beautifully smooth underneath.
When you say you've never grown one of these before, you mean a vagina on your face?
Yeah, not on my face. Not on my face.
Anywhere but my face.
What's it? Well, it's not winter yet.
The season yet, is it?
Yeah.
Do you know which Kerfuffle woolly hats are going to be a big hit this season?
The ones that don't have Corona on them.
The black with pink that you've got.
Oh yes, they're very. Oh no, shut up! They're really expensive, David. I can't be affording to knock those out to every man, woman, and child.
Oh, come on, we can get them for the little Overman kids.
I like that from Andy. Is that just a generic "be prepared"? That's a Mark Francois. Just be prepared. What for? I don't know.
Be prepared. Always carry a spare pair of underpants. You never know what's going to happen.
Well, you know my view on that, don't you? So I learned the lesson the wrong way, but I now have a 3 panta policy, which is when I'm going out on a big night out, it's either 1 pair of pants if I'm feeling brave. That would be most men's commando. 2 pairs of pants and a 3 pair of panta if it's obviously looking like it's going to be particularly tricky. Because if anything as well, it just keeps you really, really. I find myself not needing to go to the toilet as much.
You know what though? You're obviously getting older, because there would have been a time where a no panter would have been what you were aiming for.
No.
But do you honestly not have to go to the toilet that often? Because as I'm getting older, I cannot keep it in. I'm like a 60-year-old man.
I think one of the most depressing things about getting to our age, is having to have those like-minded conversations. Oh, it's terrible, isn't it? Or do you find yourself up 6 times in the night?
And it's sorry, ladies, but this is a prostate thing. It's not. Do you know when you were a kid, you used to wee like a racehorse?
Yeah.
And now it's like a sprinkler with a blockage in it. It's just not.
And I was always really, really proud of myself. Literally, before going to bed, I'd do the Josh Fegan thing, which is like drink 2 pints of water, which meant you wake up in the morning, really alert. If I did that now, it'd be a bloodbath. Well, not a bloodbath, but it'd be terrible.
Right. Have you seen some news though?
I've seen a little bit. I thought again for the.
Okay, well, let's get through today's news, and I'm just I'm gonna skip and skim through some of the stuff from Property Industry Eye that has caught my eye. The headline that they're leading with today is that lockdown pushes the number of first-time buyers to a 7-year low, and that analysis, useless analysis, is from Halifax. I say useless because whatever agent you talk to at the moment, they're talking about record numbers of buyers, and they're seeing just amazing amounts of sales and record numbers. We've never been as busy as we've been, and everyone's bitching and moaning about,
with less staff on the whole as well. Let's not forget.
It's harder work for sure. It is harder work, but I don't honestly believe that it's necessary that these first-time buyers have disappeared. I think what's happening is that buyers are entering the market later and later. So where you expected first-time buyers to all be sort of at the very low hundreds, you were getting them coming into the market at 250, sometimes even 300,000, which is
unprecedented.
Yeah. Chris Watkins, welcome to Estate Agents Talk About Toilet Habits show. Chris,
don't try and define us. We're not going to be pigeonholed. we cover everything.
Lovely, Chris, with your myriad of posts about how agents have got it wrong and were shit, and no one cares about the pie chart and the size of my willy and my market share and what I really want to hear.
I built a career on that, David. That's literally me saying I'm better than everyone else.
I love Chris to bits, and the bit that bugs me to fuck about his posts is not just the condescending tone. I love that. It's the fact that it's true. Largely,
he's come right back at you. He's come right back at you.
Largely, every word that he writes and he says is absolutely true. And as much as it narks me and it gets me wound up, truth is, he's right.
Well, do you know what I don't like? I don't like the fact that, wait a minute, keep it up there, so to speak. I don't like the fact that he can get away what is blatantly a Tinder photo as his profile picture.
Yeah, that is his catfish photo. That is
absolutely, that is, you know.
If you turned up for a date with Chris Watkins and he actually walked through the door, you'd be very, very disappointed, wouldn't you?
What happens? Do you think I could walk through the door and pass it off? Oh no, because I don't know jack shit about estate agents.
I tell you what couldn't happen. You and Chris Watkins could not walk through a door together. Not happening.
Where was this agents giving you?
Hey, we're bringing the fire today. Okay, applicants and tenants are becoming more abusive towards
This was the one I was going to say, is the no shit Sherlock. What? Society's getting a bit ruder. You don't say. Did you follow all the way through though?
I'm just looking at the transcript of that call, and I'm sorry, but I've had. You've
had worse. You've had worse than that today, haven't you?
Oh yeah. Just get your manager, you stupid twat. You're an arsehole. You're an acting arsehole. Well, I've had much worse than that. Yeah. I've had worse than that this week.
I know, you're an arsehole.
It's look, that is no great shakes, but I'm telling you, the letting sector is fraught with sort of tension and emotion at the moment, because you've got a very hostile environment for landlords. We keep making legislation changes designed to help principally tenants. We keep changing the guidance in terms of how we can get people out of properties and services of notices. From literally 1 minute to the next, we announce these things. We expect the industry to adapt to it, delivering very little value to landlords, very little. Even though they're saying, okay, we're going to shorten the notice period, you have to give a tenant, if they owe you 6 months of rent. I'm sorry, sweetheart, but if they owe you 6 months of rent, that relationship wasn't going to be long-term anyway. It's broken. It's not, but it's, I think you're coming out of COVID, where a lot of people's incomes have already been hit. There are some agents reporting arrears with tenants. Thank God we're not that bad, at least in our side of town. Yeah. There are some people with some real horror stories out there, but I think that the worst is yet to come. So if you see sort of redundancy levels rising, people not going to be able to pay their rents. That's
one of the interesting ones. You mentioned it before, this whole question of the I think Henry Pryor mentioned it on Twitter. How many of that 8 million or whatever it is furlough don't know they're actually unemployed yet? And there's actually been, research, dependent on what side of the political spectrum you are, that could be as high as 1 in 6, 1 in 10. Either way, it's going to be adding millions obviously onto that unemployment list at the end of it. And of course, there is going to be a lot of anger there, because no doubt a few of them understand that they were, probably at risk, but not all of them. And if I'm guessing the great British public, they won't have been putting away a rainy day fund.
No, and that's the issue, because I think all these good times are going to come home to haunt us. So at the moment, the market and the public are very much behaving like they're trying to get back to business as normal. We will see how restaurants do in this next month, and funnily enough, that is a real indication of where. Because during August, where you had Eat Out to help out, I know you did more than your fair share. You single-handedly propped up the economy.
I was looking for my drink out to help out policy, but that didn't seem to
I think that's going to have to come in December. But we now need to get back to life without all of these handouts. And are we going to go back to normal? Are we still going to embrace going out there? Are we going to still?
Well, yeah. And the thing is, that cost, and I think it was another good scheme from our communist Corbynistic government, which of course I'm enjoying tremendously. That cost 600 million. The Eat Out scheme. We're now furloughing. I think is it 34 billion. In fact, Paul Smith writes about it, doesn't it? There, obviously, it does have to be paid for at some stage,
yeah.
And the point is that's going to be a hell of a brick wall we hit when all of these artificial performance enhancers fall out of the mix, don't they? And
so there could be some rather dark times ahead, and what that means for the lettings sector as a whole, because we always tend to focus on house sales as a good barometer of how healthy the property market is. But if you want to have a look at life in landlord world at the moment, it ain't pretty. What they've done in Wales, which I think Zoe Bywater actually brought to my attention, is I think that they made available loans to, if I'm not mistaken, loans to tenants to be able to pay arrears off rent, which is great, because basically you're not saving that problem for later on down the line. Can't you dive into Kerfuffle? You know what we could do? It's in a little bit of deficit at the moment, the Kerfuffle expense account, but we're replenishing it, right?
We call it pre-revenue.
Pre-revenue. The most powerful bit of revenue.
Did you see the comments on that article, though? There were some quite interesting ones, as they always are. Obviously, I tend to go straight for the comments these days. Anonymous Agent, the fantastically named Anonymous Agent, made the point. Totally agree. It's got even worse since COVID-19. The anger when we won't book a viewing in when we already have 5 booked and a waiting list of 15 plus is ridiculous. I was going to ask you, is there still that just absolute lack of empathy from the public about, very much the Farouk assault, I want it and I want it now? If you're trying to be, people friendly, you're trying to do the right stuff, are they just literally, there's always been that arsehole section of the public, hasn't it? Are they just being their special self?
As Chris Watkins will tell you, we're not quick to blame ourselves in life, are we? So we always find a reason why somebody else is to blame. Somebody else has done us wrong. So I heard a story yesterday of a person that is looking for a property, complaining that agents will not. The whole thing is a stitch up. The agents have their preferred buyers and their preferred renters, and it's a whole inside job, and there's money changing hands under the table and all.
You can admit it now. Admit it, that goes on.
Yeah, not in 2020. But and in the same breath, they told me that they didn't turn up to a viewing last week and forgot to cancel it. Not with us, but just with another. Yeah. And they now don't understand why that agent won't get them through the door. So I think there are members of the public out there. It is frustrating, particularly if you're buying something where in an area where the prices and the properties are just going very, very quickly. If you're a tenant, you're used to that, because we're getting people calling up to book a viewing who start the conversation, oh, I know I'm not going to get this, because they feel that the competition is so huge. It'd be like every year you apply for Miss World and you never ever get through to the shortlist.
Never even get a reply.
But it doesn't stop you, does it? That little face of yours with expectation.
I've got them this year, because I've put myself down as binary. They're going to get the mother of all legal suits if they don't reply.
Binary, but no, I think that the public. They tell themselves whatever they need to in order to make it somebody else's fault. But genuinely, it's tough out there. There is competition, and we have got a housing crisis that is brewing. There are more people looking for shelter, not mentioning that shitty organisation, but there are more people looking for a home than probably we've ever known, and there's a shortage. So There you go. And there's definitely a shortage on affordable housing, and that's a whole other shit show.
Come on, because one thing we were doing during lockdown was we were asking all our guests when we thought that the recovery was going to happen. And
Yeah.
unlike in Top Gear, where they actually keep records of that, I just scribbled it down on a bit of paper and lost it. But my recollection is that there was one brave person that almost said, obviously, within a couple of months. Obviously, we've all been astounded at the level of the bounce back, but I can't say I was particularly surprised because by definition that pent-up demand was going to be released at some stage, wasn't it? You're thinking that there's tough times. Most people are saying October, November. Are you seeing it that close? Are you seeing it as next year? What are you thinking?
It's not petering out at the moment, so it tends to sort of, go a little bit sort of lukewarm at some point, and then eventually cold, and then the tap stops altogether. But it's not happening right now. So people are behaving and acting like October, November is not going to come. I actually think that what's going to feed into our national psyche is going to be those reports of retailers doing badly in December, which is a no-brainer. The tons of them that haven't reopened. How the restaurant sector's doing, so we'll find out what those numbers are like for September and October. I imagine they're not going to be as great as we imagined, and I think that once the media starts to regurgitate that shite, we're going to end up talking ourselves into it, and it's up to us all to sort of be as upbeat as possible. But let's face it, as you've always said, we've got to pay for it at some point.
Yeah, well, you know me and my fiscal responsibility.
Rajiv, good morning. Are you seeing a move to more upfront rental payment offers from tenants looking to differentiate their proposal? Yes. But I'll tell you what else we're seeing. We're seeing landlords going, I don't want upfront rental payments. That freaks me out. What are they trying to hide? Why are they trying to do that? So you can't do right for doing wrong in this industry. What do you think of the Chris Hamer resignation? Other than Property Mark don't really know how to issue a proper news release.
It's a bit like the night of the long knives there, doesn't it? It does strike me that there's a lot of stuff going on and all the rest of it. Yes, what did they do? They issued it, then they had to re-clarify or something else.
Yeah, it's all a little bit. It's a little bit weird. It broke last night, didn't it? That he was leaving, but they'd also at the same time announced earlier that day that they were appointing two new presidents, females, which is fantastic, and what you and I have been campaigning for.
Yeah, to be fair, they did it. One was replacing Lauren, who was fantastic. Lauren up in the northeast, so that was there. So yeah, I think it's good. Do you think that's what it is? Do you think it is a genuine sort of changing of the guard that we're just seeing?
A putsch.
I was going to go back, obviously, as my favourite subject. Yeah, a Corbynista style takeover.
I think it probably needs a facelift anyway, and I think it probably needs new personnel, and it needs new drive, and needs new focus, and it needs to get its shit together ahead of Roper. Yeah. And it needs to also galvanize support from agents, and I think it therefore needs to rebrand, not in name. Please don't change the name again. Yeah, lose track of Property Mark. No one gives a shit what you called. Just deliver value to your clients. Deliver value to the agents, to the agents out there. Help support our bread and butter, which is going to be, particularly when you look at the letting sector. How on earth are we going to help landlords regain confidence and investors and gain confidence in a marketplace that we are going to need to, at some point, bolster, because private sector housing is going to have to take up the shortfall and the slack caused by the absolutely dire public sector. So, given that, can we get our shit together? Can we liaise with government in a meaningful way? And can we make this industry as relevant to government as the house building industry is? Because that's big money for them, huge money.
So let me just. So first of all, I think obviously John Paul and Zoe are obviously they're not going to be shrinking violets in that organisation, are they? So that promises a lot. But let me just throw it back at you. So what would be the one thing you would try to do? You would try to get close to government, but not too close to government straight away to start reforming the relationship.
As we've always said, the trick to sort of getting close to government is that we feel that you fall into that camp of I'm close to government, but I'm not going to call them out and I'm not going to criticize them because we need them. But I think we need somebody who's not afraid to ruffle a few feathers, and not to forget that if you are a figurehead of a major organization that has so many thousands of followers and listeners and members, such as Kerfuffle, but if you were to get on your soapbox today and say, look, this isn't right, this needs to change, and I'm calling on government to do that, it's okay. Keep them on their toes. No one's going to melt. I understand how the machinations of power work within Westminster, and I understand that there are fresh challenges afoot in Boris's version of government. But we should be preaching to the choir here, because you've got a conservative right-wing government. All of those guys, all the Jacob Rees-Moggs of this world, they're all landlords, for fuck's sakes. They're not short of a few bob, but they never know what we're talking about.
Just as my attempt as ever to try and dumb this down. Did you see the photo of Jacob Rees-Mogg's kids going back to school?
No, were they all riding on penny farthings?
You aren't too far from the truth there. They were all stood in front of the house in what can only be described as 17th century pantaloons and cravats.
I'm just Googling this now. 1 second.
If you can find the image.
I'm going to find it.
It was on Twitter as well. It was on Twitter. So he basically put it out there, trolling it. The kids want to go back. They need to go back. And it was like, all right.
Oh, my God.
Have you seen it? Because share the photo. It's brilliant.
Oh, I'm going to right now. 1 second. How do we do what we do? Here we go. Chrome tab. Boom. Baby.
Don't get the wrong one. Yeah, look at that. Honestly, I don't know.
It's like a sort of 18th century sort of version of idyllic, very, very white-looking British kids there,
They're paler than poltergeists. I mean, look at that. The holidays are over, and my 5 older children. And by the way, is he just a Christian fundamentalist? Has he just got hundreds of children? My 5 older children certainly need and want to be at school.
Oh, the poor kids.
Yeah,
kids. I'd get bullied to fuck wearing that, but
I think they're going to get trolled even more, because I remember seeing the eldest in a Liverpool shirt, that's not a city well known and disposed to the Mogg family or its politics.
Unbelievable! That is the whitest photo I've ever seen. It's so white that it's racist. I'm telling you,
it's bad, isn't it? It's bad news for another northern city today, David. I don't know if you saw waking up to the news. It looks like Leeds could be going into lockdown as well. Did you see that?
Yes, I think that was expected. Actually, Leeds, sort of Bradford area.
Just because that's the government's modus operandi, it's starting to now punish those northern towns and cities. But
the unspoken truths of lockdown. Yeah, let's start with the poor people, see how they cope with it.
Yeah, keep them under the jackboot.
But encouragingly, although numbers sort of in terms of infection rate are going up, the fatalities or the mortality rate, if you like, is not going up in necessarily in line with that.
So it may be very unpopular now, but genuinely, what the fuck are they? Are they still commenting on the nightly news? 2 died yesterday, 3 died, the day before. It's like You know,
I'll tell you why, Simon, because every Englishman's life matters. Okay.
Yeah. Well, unless you're homeless, unless you're dying from the boring shit like cancer and all the other treatable diseases.
30,000 people are caught in that whole cancer trap.
It's incredible. It's shocking.
It's awful. But I don't necessarily think that the NHS is at fault. And I think it mirrors what is happening in other countries. We genuinely thought our resources were going to be eaten up by dealing with COVID. And let's not forget all the weeks that we stood out on our doorsteps clapping for the NHS. All that, where's that goodwill gone?
Yeah.
Where's it gone? That good feeling that we used to have, and we're all in this together. Now you won't put a bloody mask on to go to the off license or whatever it is, because I'm not putting a mask on. Nonsense. I've turned up for appointments and with fully.
And they've had a go at you.
And they've had a go at me. One guy said to me, that's more damaging for you than it is good. Take it off. Take it off. I'm like, no. I'm not taking it off. Take it off. Take it off. I'm not talking to you like that.
That is incredible. I mean, I knew the great British public were arseholes, but you do need to hear the evidence like that.
I just think that the common sense and the goodwill, it's dissipated. It was very, very short-lived. I remember the golden age, March, April, May. Do you remember when we were doing one show a day? We were talking to all those Australian dudes. Everything was amazing.
Didn't go well for them, though, did it? They were all happy-go-lucky back then. Suddenly, we're into lockdown.
I'm very worried about them, but they'll bounce back, I'm sure.
What are you worried about? Their 2% fees, their $20,000 on average vendor-paid advertising. What part specifically do you feel sorry for the Aussie real estate?
I've got to tell you. So my favourite agents in Australia, we've not had them on the show. We've not spoken to them because I think it's beyond your network of extensive contacts. But Lisa and Mark Novak, yeah. They have pioneered this very raw sort of social media stuff that they do, and it's literally them holding a camera, no production quality whatsoever. It'll be Lisa Novak going, all right, guys, I'm outside a property. This is fantastic. Get it before it goes on to REA, which is their version of Rightmove. Yeah. And they are selling these properties before they hit REA. And so why is that significant? Because over there, it's saving their vendors
$5,000. Yeah.
So they're actually paying a lot less, but she's leveraging social media for all it's worth. Now, I decided, although we don't have vendor paid advertising here, I decided we were going to try and mimic that. I'm not as good looking as Lisa Novak. I know. All right. I'm aware of that. My lips aren't as good.
If I squint, you are.
But we started doing it. So what I'll do now is when I go to take on a property, typically it'll take me a while to sort of edit the photos, get them online with Rightmove anyway. So there's a bit of a lag, very minor. But on the day when I'm actually there, I'll take a video outside the property. Hey, it's David. I'm here. This is a 3-bedroom house. It's got, fantastic this, that, and the other. And I'll whiz around the property, very, very low production quality. It's literally me panting as I'm going up and down the stairs going, this is a wonderful spare bedroom.
Get it quick. Get it quick.
Get it whilst it's hot, ladies. But what's actually happening is the minute I post those on Facebook, the phone is ringing with viewings. And so it's correct, guys. There is life after Rightmove, and there is life beyond these portals. And I think that the wake-up call is if you can leverage as people like, what's his name? Paul, what's his name? Our friend of the show. Paul Long. As he's been teaching, and people like Chris with the unpronounceable surname that was on Christopher Watkins' couch the other day, when they talk about leveraging social media and all the sort of gimmicks, there's new stuff coming out as well, which is really dirty tricks you can play, such as geotagging. So if I put a geotag on your house and it's on the market with a competitor, anybody that comes to your house gets maybe, I'm targeting them because I know they're house buyers. I could be advertising to your buyers. So there's all sorts of stuff that is coming soon to social media. And if you've got the time to invest in it, it will really pay serious dividends. I know I'm preaching to the converted here because...
but actually you're also echoing what Paul Smith of Spice has said. Did you read his article today or skim read it? So he was talking about, obviously, make hay while the sun shines and don't miss the digital train. And he makes the point, he's talking about obviously all the debts, and he sees comparisons with Nigel Lawson's mistakes and Miras and the exchange rate mechanism, and he's basically echoing your concerns over where it's going. He does go on to say, by the way, that he says we've been receiving up to 5,000 CVs a week for estate agency lettings and financial services roles. I don't know how many of them are their own staff. Can we have our jobs back? But then he goes on, and this was the bit that just made me think when you were talking there. He's talking about their Flink technology, which, if just to remind people, is that very it's almost Cambridge Analytica style from a company called CCT, I believe. That chooses machine learning to choose which is the best advert for the audience, and by doing that, it keeps your Facebook advertising down to the click cost down to an absolute record low. But what the end caught my eye, and I wanted to talk to you about. He says, news has reached me of a new Facebook widget which uses geotagging to track whether people are looking at other agents' properties, new build show homes or open homes when they start again. How useful is this? If you can then target those interested parties with your own property ads, you're onto a winner. He says agents who've been napping over the last 5 years when it comes to digital technology are going to be the hardest hit over the months and years to come. Those who were on furlough and didn't use the opportunity to update their skills could well find themselves out of a job. It's never too late to get on board the digital chain. Don't be the one left behind.
I honestly feel that his staff memo got switched with that article at some point. Some of you are not coming back.
It's the old one. It's the old Ricky Gervais, David Brent. You've got a job.
But he's right. It's a really long-winded article, by the way, and the beginning bit of it's good, and it doesn't really connect to the last bit about digital innovation. But I think the key is that you need to set a time. It's now no longer a hobby. It's not something you can just dabble in. You need to build social media into your daily routine, just as we've been hacking on at agents to build prospecting into their daily routine and keep it as part of your core and key processes. But if you don't do it, it's one of those things. You need to be consistent. Why on earth does anybody know who Chris Watkins is? Honestly, in an ideal world, no one would have heard of a Chris Watkins, right?
He stumbled in here. He's sat on his bike just watching this.
I love him. No. But seriously, taking a leaf out of Chris's book, it is about frequency. It's about message. It's about consistency. And if Chris were to blow hot and cold, if he were to say, agents, you're actually doing a really good job and everything's right, it would totally throw off his whole thing. But he's regular. He's there. He's got videos. He shakes it up. You can read it. You can watch it. You can listen to it. You can call him on his bike. You can call him on his boat. You can call him in his bedroom, whatever you want. But I think you need to do that as a business as well. You need to make sure that you are now going to actually sort of invest in it. And a lot of people say, I haven't got time for it. I'm going to outsource it. There were Life Cycle, who I don't think we've spoken to properly on this show.
Mr. Burgess. Yeah.
So I think they've got something which basically, I heard it's expensive, but it replaces a member of staff, they reckon.
It strikes me from what I've heard of as a fantastic nurture tool that, a lot of these electronic direct mail tools have tried to aspire to be. And he's seems to be hitting the right notes with that. And as you said, Christopher Watkins has been shouting about that from the hilltops.
No, he has, and rightly so. But I think agents need to get on that, and they just need to keep doing it. A lot of the agents that we know and talk to anyway are doing it religiously, and they're brilliant at what they do. And I think the best, it's the unprepared stuff, the raw stuff at the moment that is resonating best with the public, because we have a national obsession with houses and house prices. We're nosy fuckers at heart, and we love to look around other people's houses. And if you could, and if you can allow the public to access that for free on social media, winner.
Yeah,
Chicken dinner.
Absolutely. Can we finish with just one story that I saw on a estate agency today that caught my eye?
Go for it.
And it was highlighting here. The title was "A Lot Less Houses at Auction Achieve 40% Less Than Via Private Treaty." And it was one of these weird companies that go out and do this. Yeah, the research was conducted by auction finance specialist Octagon Capital, which, considering if they are an auction finance specialist, is a bit weird that they came out with this, because it suggested that homes sold via auction achieve 40% less than those sold via private treaty, which is not the story we've ever been told, and certainly isn't what I see with my own eyes when I have been lucky enough to see auctions done by Sold, SDL, all of them, all over in Australia, where I tend to, well, in my eyes, simplistic eyes, I see market forces at work, the deal being done in the most effective way possible. But then I think it's not hard to see how they've actually calculated this, because what they've done is combining data on houses bought at auction in 2020 and official government house price data. The research shows that on average, houses sold at auction cost £138,240. Those sold through other methods achieve an average of £231,885. Now, this really is one of those areas where the statistics
you're just gonna it's shite, because you're gonna have a lower volume of houses going through auctions. It's typically lower value stuff. If you really want a premium price, you may sweat it out on the open market, and you're not going to hit the auction rooms. And so the figures, therefore, damn lies, and statistics.
Really
That's
is.
what it is. But I'll tell you, it very much depends on auction firms as well. So I know somebody yesterday, a vendor of mine has got something in London. It's not an area we cover. They sold the property for 305,000, and the guy that bought it from him said, "Look, I'm just letting you know, I'm going to shove it straight back in an auction tomorrow." And he said, "Oh, don't bother, because I've spoken to auctioneers. Nobody, everybody's guiding me around this figure." It went for about 350,000 the day after in the same auction. So it shows that there's definite appetite out there, but it depends which auction house you're using. SDL's really decent. Allsop's always used to be quite a sort of premium brand as well. They attract different kinds of buyers, each one, I think.
One of the things I heard really interesting just on the auction front, a guy called James Gibbon, who's working for one of these auction firms now, and I must admit I had never ever thought of it. He was talking about how he's seen a emergence of auctions working for lettings, and I thought, well, okay, so I can't get my head around that. And actually, it makes absolute perfect sense, doesn't it? If you think about it, lettings is so much more, quicker moving usually. Obviously, you tend to have a lot of competition, but what you don't have is actually that you don't have that competition driving the price up that effectively as it could do. So if you actually put that into an auction scenario and you manage to, if you like, weaponize that interest in a short period of time to get a higher rent, I think that was really interesting.
I mean, the true story is, honestly, then this is you wearing your socialist cap.
Yeah,
it's an indictment as where we are as a society, where you can actually run a lettings auction, where the demand for housing is so high that people will be knifing each other to get in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And on that cheerful note, I'm going to have to disappear off to work. It's been good to catch up with you again. We've not done these, but we're going to do these a bit more regularly. I'm not going to make any service promises. As you well know, we're cooking something very, very fun in terms of our game show concept.
Yes, yeah.
Coming to a podcast near you. And I've been chatting with Susanna behind your back again. We're going to sort of make it into a points win cash prizes for charity.
Great! So basically, you've gone to her and she's thought this is another way of taking money off.
Do it for Dom. That's it. We tick a do it for Dom box.
Yeah.
Anyway, Robert May. Simon's gone both conservative.
Don't they all? Isn't that those two words always go together anyway? Don't they?
You're a conservative rogue. Have a wonderful weekend, Mr.
Have a good one, everyone. You too, matey. Have a good one.
Take it easy. I'll see you soon.